So Shane, what I was just explaining to Dwight before you joined us is that, I think that where I'm going to go now, because I guess somebody had a big tweet last night, like this bit going on where people are accusing me of being Jeff Teardrick, and I'm going to do like a tweet or a series of tweets where I do claim to be Jeff Teardrick and apologize for it. And I'm going to like tag him. I'm going to basically turn this around on him. I'm going to like tag him in all the posts, and it's like, I'm really sorry, I just wanted to see, I wanted to prove a point that I could gain, hundreds of thousands of followers by just, with just the lowest effort replying to every Trump tweet. And so we're going to see how that goes.
Let me ask you a question, Chris. Have you selected a new username for your new account?
I don't think I'm going to get banned for this, although I do. I keep playing with fire, man. I'm ready to go to battle with this guy and with fucking Siraj Hashmi. This is like the third episode in a row I've talked about this guy.
Let me ask you another question. I'm not, if I'm being frank, I'm not entirely certain who this man is. Is he actually looks that much like Eric Clapton, or is that an Eric Clapton picture in as his profile?
No, he looks like Eric Clapton.
God.
Yeah, that's him. Yeah.
I think
spot on.
A few weeks ago when you started getting into it, Carrie was looking into like who this guy was, like what, why does he have this big following? And I guess he was one of those early adopters in like the very early 2000s of like online blogs.
Yes.
And that's what his whole career was. And his blog was like a sort of satirical politics blog called The Smirking Monkey, or no, The Smirking Chimp. Smirking Chimp. And
boy.
I mean,
that's ironic.
Yeah, I know.
Right?
That's the best part. Is that
that's weird.
That's your Abby. But I'm assuming the Smirking Chimp thing had to do with Bush, because there were I remember. Do you remember, like, really, especially in the beginning, in sort of pre 9/11, most of the caricatures and sort of political late night comedy stuff, and even like Mad Magazine, like the drawings of Bush, it was always about like him having like big ears and looking like a monkey or something.
Which he doesn't even have big ears.
No, he really doesn't. I mean, he is stupid, but
they did that with Obama too. Remember, some of them tried to show Obama with big ears. It's a strange thing.
Yeah, like big ears. Like, what the fuck is that about?
It's very weird. And in comparison, like the kind of, it's weird looking back on it. Like, remember how important the blogosphere was? I remember in like the 2004 election, a lot of the kind of pundits like Frank, what's that guy's name? The idiot pollster.
Luntz?
Frank Muntz.
Luntz.
Frankie Muniz.
Luntz.
Frank Luntz, that's right. Like, guys like him would go on and they would talk about the blogosphere and what the blogosphere is talking about John Kerry and stuff like that. And it was probably like just early posters, I guess, like Jeff Teardrick.
Yeah.
I believe Jeff Teardrick also, his daughter is like a cartoonist or something, or like does comic books or something, I think. I think that his daughter may be more famous than he is. I actually didn't realize until recently that he was like an early blogger. I thought that he'd kind of like piggybacked his social media fame on hers.
I mean, I'm assuming most of his sort of online following on Twitter or whatever is related to the Trump stuff. But like,
yeah, I mean, it's I mean, like as has been proven with the Krasensteins. I mean, all you have to do. Well, the Krasensteins, they had the added bonus of like just following like 600,000 accounts. You know what I'm saying? Like they really proved that like you can force yourself to be known. Yeah. If all you do is just follow 500,000 people on Twitter and just turn on notifications for Trump's tweets, so you can be the first person in there to be like, "How dare you, Mr. Orange Cheeto Hitler, sir."
You know what's weird about that? I think, like, so, my use of social media, I used it a lot in, like, 2011, and that was, like, when I started Twitter, and I was using it when I was, like, doing, like, Occupy stuff, and I had that kind of, like, I don't know, very rosy, optimistic view about the potentials of, online activism and stuff. That was, like, when I was in my early 20s, and then I then just, like, didn't even use the website for, like, 6 years, until Trump became president, because then at that point I was like, man, fuck it. Like, there's no chance I'm going to say anything bad at this point that could potentially, like, harm me in the future. I mean, like, this fucking belligerent rapist and racist is president, right? And he's tweeting all the time.
Correct.
And so, I got back on, and it was weird, like, when you start off in this space, like, you see all these, like, large accounts, right? And there's this assumption that, like, oh, these are, like, important people. Like, their voice carries a lot of weight here. Even within, like, different sub-communities, like, on left Twitter or whatever, you'll see, you start finding these accounts that have, like, tens of thousands of followers or whatever. And obviously that scales, too, in relation to your own following. When you only have a few hundred followers, somebody with 1,000, that seems like, oh, my God, that's like a unscalable number. And as or at least for me, as I started, spending more time in the community and talking to people, you realize that, like, there is a certain slice of people where they're, like, actually, like, they're journalists or they're activists or they're media people, and so there's a sort of, like, reason, or, like, academics or something, and there's, like, a reason why they have, like, a lot of following, like, they have some kind of, IRL thing, and then there's other people who are just like, this is just, like, a guy. This is just, like, a random guy. And now, like, now that I am one of those random guys, it's so weird to, like, because you see, there's, like, there's a few of the things, I'm not to hash it out in too much detail, but there's, like, a bunch of, like, there are a couple of accounts that, like, keep repeatedly coming out with these, like, awful stupid takes, and then everybody, like, gets mad at them and yells at them, and it's like, at the end of the day, this is just, like, some guy. You don't have to listen to them. They have literally zero power outside of this platform. Like, you can make the argument that a journalist has power outside of it, or a media person, or whatever, but, like, there are so many people here who are just, like, people with a Twitter account who just post all day, and you don't have to look at them. I don't know. I mean, obviously, look at me. Follow me on Twitter, please.
And who knows how much the algorithm influenced the amount of eyes that got put on somebody's tweet or something like that.
Right, exactly. Which is why people respond to Trump and stuff, to get, because they know he has millions of followers or whatever.
Yes.
Sorry, not to interrupt.
But, like, as an example, like, if I'm not mistaken, one of the reasons that PewDiePie came to, ascended to the stardom that he has now, which is bad, is, like, he was living in Italy at the time that he was, like, starting streaming and starting, like, his YouTube channel, and for whatever reason, to, like, boost the amount of videos that were coming out of countries that maybe don't have as many users, like, his stuff got put into an outsized amount of suggested videos in YouTube. Yeah. And that's why, like, he ended up just, developing a fan base. Plus,
doesn't
whatever.
he have like 125 million subscribers or something on YouTube or something just outrageous?
He was the top for a long
so.
time. I think he probably still is the top. Yeah.
I believe he still is. Yeah.
Yeah, and he is a neo-Nazi, if I'm not mistaken, as well.
I'm not so sure.
I think he's like an edgelord who too like casually engages with that, which doesn't mean it's better or whatever, but, like,
at least his heart's not in it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not defending him, but think about as recently as 5 years ago, that's mostly what the internet was just like ironic Hitler jokes.
Yeah.
Now it's just actual Hitler convictions. It isn't that much more comforting.
Yeah.
What was I gonna say? Oh no, but like, speaking on like that. What you just brought up, Shane, like, somebody, I thought it was funny, somebody last night DM'd me, and they were like, what did they say? They said, don't bother with the Siraj bit, he's not worth it, or something. And then I responded, like, LOL, what? Like, and then he was like, wait, I didn't expect you to respond. It's like, he was like, it's really funny the way he vocalized, like, just how much he didn't expect me to respond. Like, I'm not important.
You mean a lot to me.
I've had other people say that, and it's really funny. Like, wow, I didn't expect you to reply to me. Like, what the hell else am I gonna do?
That's funny. Wow, no one said that to me.
I've gotten stuff like that before too. I mean, it's obviously it's always nice when people reach out and, like,
of course,
in a positive way.
Me too.
Like it, and it does,
or a negative way. If you want to reach out to me in a negative way, I almost prefer that.
But I mean, it is always heartwarming when people, talk, especially if they talk about the show, and we all, we share it with each other, and we say, isn't this a nice thing that somebody has said, and those are really positive things. But it is weird to, like, be in a position where, like, I don't know, to feel like in a relatively short amount of time, like, I mean, obviously I'm grateful and I'm very happy that this program, or us talking, like, means a lot to people. I mean, if you're listening to this, you're helping support us put this together.
Yes.
And it is just an odd, like, a little step from going from one kind of space and one interaction with the internet to another. And sometimes it is strange because it's like, I don't know. I am just like a guy, like I'm just like some random guy,
Yeah.
Like,
but I think I was thinking about this a lot. I was like taking a long walk and I was thinking about like the project and stuff like that, and how I also feel like like you're describing an entire imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
Like I'm not the one. Like,
right,
don't,
right.
but I think like that's why I like when people reach out, because I like to think of this project as very much collaborative, because we're going on this kind of like intellectual and political economic journey along with everybody else, and we're trying to learn and get better at being anti-racist and being anti-capitalist and to promote the betterment of the majority of people on Earth. Mm-hmm. And that to me has been, I don't know, that's how I view this thing. Again, I totally feel the way that you do. I'm just a man, and I do this because, like, who's fucking actually really jazzed about their job,
right? Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like, it does, like, we get, because of the profit motives behind a lot of our employment, mm-hmm. we get no intellectual stimulation or creative stimulation from our jobs. Mm-hmm. So, like, of course we would want to seek out to do something like this.
Yeah,
it's vastly fucking more fulfilling than just like making somebody else rich and having a boss be able to buy a new fucking car.
I'm thinking about how I'm gonna craft my my Jeff Teardrick.
Single-minded, dude.
I literally can't wait.
Single-minded.
I almost asked you guys if we could delay starting, because as soon as I got the idea, I was like, man, I really want to like just get this out there.
This is kind of like a rare insight for our Patreon listeners who are going to hear what this was like before you did the thing.
Yeah, the workshop.
Your thought process.
Yeah, a little inside baseball. What do you got? What do you got?
Yeah, what are you thinking? We're live streaming right now. It's just a retroactive thing that they're actually going to hear.
Well, I hate to make it a thread, but I don't think I can get everything out that I want to get out in one tweet. You know what I'm saying? Because what I got here is there are a lot of rumors swirling around. I think it's time for me to address them. Yes, it's true. There is no real person called Jeff Teardrick. The It's Jeff Teardrick account is run by me. It started off as an experiment. I wanted to see if it was possible to, and it's like I'm already out of space, so it's obviously going to need to be at least one more tweet. I don't want to make it much more than that.
I think you should do it as a thread.
It would be funny if it actually was like several, and I like tagged him in every single one. That would be good.
That's good. Yeah, for sure.
This won't reflect negatively on the Eat the Rich account, would it? They're not going to ban us for this.
No, they're not going to ban me for this.
Well, you know me. What was the thing? Oh yeah, well yeah, it wouldn't have been the first time. I still wonder what was the calculation before why Twitter banned the Eat the Rich account before.
Oh, it was because I logged into it that one time.
Yeah, it was. I think it was an IP thing.
That's the only thing it could have been.
Yeah, I got a thing too on my account. My account was like temporarily suspended as well. I think because I think it just does like a automatic like IP thing.
What if I got like both? Like I get all of us suspended.
I don't even know, man.
The only other time I got
Carrie too, just because maybe she logged in on the same computer as you, and just like our whole network of friends just topples like dominoes.
The only other time I had gotten suspended ever on Twitter was when I did the new Iraqi dinar post, and I posted that like 200 times in 20 minutes.
Yeah. That was so fucking funny.
Yeah,
I want to be super clear. Like, if we get suspended, we will be using Trump's new avenue to complain about censorship on social media.
If I get suspended from Twitter, I'm gonna do a video on PragerU.
Why I left the left.
I was. Dude, I was thinking about that today, Shane, when you posted the Prager Force thing.
Oh yeah.
Of the Lenin statue, the Lenin bust at in the South Pole.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh yeah, we should start up the Prager Force thing again. And then I realized like that entire campaign of theirs was neutered because all college campuses are like closed down. So like, have they just dropped the ball on the idea that there's this systemic oppression of conservatives on campus?
I bet you there's some take out there in that whole milieu that's like, the part of the idea of COVID to shut down universities was to shut down conservative voices. I guarantee you that was like some element, when in reality, if anything, it's probably the opposite vis-a-vis like the kind of labor practices that have been happening and are probably likely to continue in the academic semester in the fall. I mean, I know for me, like I still have no idea what's happening in the fall, and we're in mid-June already. I have no idea what the deal is. I'm fairly sure my position as a grad student is going to remain, at least for the time being, but I know like there's all kind, like I don't know if there's going to be like in classes and stuff. I don't know like what the workload outside of class is going to be. Like it's a very strange, I mean, it's it's a microcosm of what's happened in general across the economy, and obviously there are certain sectors and definitely other occupations that have been hit a lot worse, but like one of the professors I was talking to about it made this really good point that like, and I think this is something that is going to extend, and I think we may have talked about it on one of the other episodes, but like private institutions in particular are looked at that time when they suspended everything on campus for the last few months of that spring semester of 2020, which happened across the board in the United States. They looked at their fucking spreadsheets and they realized like, oh, if we don't have the buildings open, we don't have to pay maintenance people, we don't have to pay security people, like all of these, and in a lot of cities and a lot of towns, that's like the entire economy of that town is based around the people who live there getting jobs at the university or at university adjacent industries, like the bookstores or even like the fucking restaurants or whatever. And so there's this idea that was floating around in the administrations, right, of like maybe we never open up fully again, right, just to save money. And I'm sure the same thing vis-a-vis like telecommuting or whatever, or working from home. A lot of offices are realizing like, oh, we might not have to rent the same amount of space, we don't have to pay people to maintain that space, all that stuff. If we can move a large portion of our workforce to whatever, working from home,
telecommuting,
whatever. So I don't know, there's dark forces on the horizon. Potentially.
I mean, we haven't brought this up on the show in a while, but I think it might be a good reminder, a good refresher for us that like any capitalist, any manager of a company, any board of directors or whatever, or like executive committee, they look at every company on a cost sheet or on like a balance sheet or whatever. And like, if you're trying to calculate what is your net profit, you take all of your revenue and then you subtract the costs. And so the costs would be things like labor, like salaries and stuff. And then you get to things like, variable costs that you can't get rid of, like offices, electric bills, communications bills and stuff like that. Now that this has happened, that people are working from home in those jobs that have the capacity to work from home, they are looking at that line item of office and rent and stuff like that, and they're saying exactly as you're saying, Shane, like, oh shit, maybe we don't have to have this cost, or maybe this cost doesn't have to be that high.
Right.
And if you reduce that amount, if you lower the amount of that cost, well then through that simple equation, the profit goes up.
Yeah.
It's straight up as that. And in an economy that is centered around a profit motive for the ownership class, they're going to financialize every little bit of and commoditize every little bit of our economy. So of course they're making that calculation now.
It also is a way to offload a lot of those costs to the labor force, because if you're not paying the electricity bill on the office, it's not that electricity isn't being used, it's just now instead of your home computer being off or your home office, the lights being off, like you disperse that across your office force. And it's the same thing for a lot of other amenities that might not immediately jump to mind, but shit like coffee, like that. That was one of the emails we got. It was like, we're not going to be providing like certain kinds of coffee or whatever now in the office, and because the expectation is like, well, you're going to buy and do your coffee at home, or even something like toilet paper, which I think in part was one of the things that helped to drive up that kind of manic phase of everybody buying it, was suddenly like, I mean, think about it, if you work full time, 8 hours, 9 hours or whatever a day, probably half of your BMs, your poo-poos are going to be done at the office, right? But if now you're at home, now suddenly you're clogging up your home toilet full of shits. And so, and it's like, those seem like kind of minor or silly things to put together. But if you put that on a long enough time scale, and again, if you disperse it across a number of people, not only is it more profitable for the company who may be employing, anywhere from 10, 20, 30, 50, 100 employees or whatever, but then also, in your own house, if you're doubling the amount, you're basically consuming twice as many, like, just fucking, bathroom commodities, tissues, soap, all of that shit. And if your wages don't increase at the same time, which is most likely the case, your wages will remain the same, you're actually spending more now than you were previously. So you end up having an ultimate, like, take home, or an ultimate, like, net, take of your own wages be dramatically less on a long enough time scale,
So I guess it begs the question, like, the company isn't even providing you a place in which to work.
Right.
Exactly as you're saying, and it's offloading the cost to you, and then also offloading the stress to you, because children aren't in school.
Yep.
And you can't do childcare. How do you do childcare when you can't? I mean, you send off your child who's susceptible to getting COVID to some, like, you can't even do that. So now the public schools aren't even providing, like, childcare. So now that's on you as well.
Right.
And especially, this was, like, so fascinating. I was listening to somebody from the Brooklyn Combine talk about this last night, like, just painting the picture of a working class, low income home where there might be children and families that are working off of the same iPhone to, like, work, participate in classes.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
Have a sort of social life. And as well, last night, actually, I was watching, it was a talk given by the Center for Critical Thought, including Professor Richard Wolff and Dr. Harriet Fraud, talking about, like, the two depressions, of the economic depression as well as, like, the mental health depression that's occurring, because one of the courses of treatment of depression is, like, social interaction. We can't even do that. And just the vast amount of stress of people that are sitting at home that are employed or unemployed, or if they are employed, not sure if they're going to have a job at the end of this because of the cost-cutting measures that the capitalist class is trying to put in. The amount of stress that puts on an individual, and the uncertainty in a country that offers no... Chris, what are you...
I'm sorry.
you're unmuted. I was in the middle of a great diatribe there.
Keep going.
I was really onto something. God
Keep
damn
going.
it.
I'm sorry.
Some people in their homes, they're using the same phone to record their podcast and to harass Jeff Tiedrich.
Oh, God. No, all right. Well, now we got to know.
Yeah, what? Yeah.
No, go on. No, I don't want to derail you any more than I already have.
I don't know. Don't do the bad economies, I guess, is what I was trying to...
That's the
something like that.
I just saw it, Chris. It's good.
Wait, did you send it to the DM?
No. He just tweeted it.
Let's take a look.
Did he already quote tweet you? Is that why you're laughing?
No.
Okay, all right.
I want to add more. It feels like it's missing something.
It definitely is missing something.
I should create an alt.
This is really workshopping.
I'm sorry.
To your point though, Dwight, I think, like, in terms of what do you do then to, like, alleviate that stress, right? Like, how do you manage that at home? And there, in certain circumstances, like, I consider myself pretty lucky. I'm here with Carrie and Rolo. And so, and we don't have kids or anything yet. So it's even though it can be difficult sometimes managing the dog, being inside all the time, like, it's, on the whole, it's, I'm happy about that situation. I'm kind of a homebody anyway. So, I don't mind it. Obviously, there are other people out there who might be alone, or they might be stuck with, like, roommates, or, maybe stuck in a family situation that's, like, very difficult to manage, 24/7 from either, a parental perspective, or even, being, like, someone's kid, or, a brother or sister or whatever. Like, a lot of those tensions can rise. And so, what do you do? What do you look for? And one of the things that obviously was, a prevalent form of entertainment before all of this happened, but has become even more so, is, home streaming services. So, you have a tough day, you're working or whatever, and you decide, like, let me relax, let me open up Netflix or something, let me watch a movie to enjoy myself, and lo and behold, you turn on fucking Uncut Gems, and it's just piece of shit, and it's just awful it just ruins your night. It's
ridiculous.
So bad. So bad.
The voice alone in the wilderness. I'm not even gonna dignify Then I'm gonna dignify that with a response.
God, it was. I can't believe. Like, I mean, I could understand thinking like it's okay because like I thought the last act of it was like not bad. It kind of like took off in the last half hour, but like the amount of praise it was getting online, is incomprehensible to me. Like, do you guys watch movies? Like there's other movies where like lots of stuff happens.
I don't watch movies.
I know, you just watch
movies.
the endings of them on YouTube.
That's correct. That's all I need. Or those like Watch Mojo things where it just gives you like 10 scenes, even parts of scenes.
You watch like
I'll piece it together.
10 bits you might have missed in the latest Star Wars movie. That's
or even like movies that I know intimately. You know what I watched? You know what I watched the 10 scenes of last night?
What?
I think it was from 1974, The Sting.
Oh, I haven't
with
seen
Robert
that.
Redford and
It's great.
Robert Redford and Paul Newman. So cool. And fucking Robert Shaw.
I watched Blood Simple about a week ago for the first time.
Oh, I've heard that's
the Coen
really
Brothers
good. Yeah, I've heard.
First movie. Oh my god, it was so good.
The Coen Brothers are pretty good. They're pretty reliable.
Oh, they're fantastic. But like, and even from that very first film of theirs, it had like all the hallmarks of, you know what I'm saying? Like this, it very much, felt like a Coen Brothers film.
You know what? One movie of theirs they made that is not good though.
The Lady Killers.
No, I actually like The Lady Killers.
I've never seen that. That one's typically, derided as their worst. It looks like something I would enjoy.
Yeah, it's very like caricature characters. It's an adaptation of a Peter Sellers film, a British film from the 60s. But it's a clever concept. I think you'd enjoy it. I was gonna say No Country for Old Men. That movie fucking sucks. Boring.
Oh, come on.
Nothing happens in the movie.
You're just being a contrarian.
I am not being a contrarian.
No,
it was boring to me.
He does believe this. I've heard him say this before. I remember us having this conversation before. Ridiculous.
There Will Be Blood. Another boring.
A great movie,
another
one of the
snooze
best
fest.
movies of the 20th century.
No.
You know what I like about No Country for Old Men? No music in the whole thing.
It's great.
How about no visuals? Why don't we throw that into cinema as well?
Nobody would disagree that it's great, except this is just ridiculous.
The vastness of the plains.
I remember
West Texas.
when I started film school in 2008 in the fall of 2008. I remember the big movies that everybody talked about. I hadn't seen any of them. It was No Country for Old Men, There Will Be Blood, and then the assassination of Jesse James, I think, had come out around the same time. That might have been like a year later, but that was like every film school dude, and there were a lot of them in film school, was like, these movies are amazing. And they had hyped them up so much, and I eventually watched all of them. All three of them, unbelievable, boring snooze fests.
Oh,
just like nothing fucking happens in the movie. And I like weird, boring shit. I've made plenty of weird, boring shit in my time as a filmmaker.
I would love to see some of your films.
I'll send you some.
Yeah?
Yeah, sure.
I mean, do you have 10 cut scenes perhaps that you can put on YouTube for me?
I have a Vimeo that I haven't touched in a really long time.
I didn't know that.
That has a bunch of my old film projects. Yeah, there was one. The one I was really proud of, being a friend of mine from that school, Caleb Foss. We made a feature length film that I liked quite a bit. It's sort of experimental comedy that's really weird and really bizarre and probably a weird slog for a lot of people. And so I'm fully accepting of especially when you talk about indie films or experimental films, there's a whole lot of it. And if you want to do a weird experimental film, that's okay, but don't sell me a movie that's got gunslingers in it and then there's no fucking shooting. That's like if I made a Mad Max movie and it was just somebody in a fucking in traffic for 2 hours.
Isn't Arthur Miller said, he was like, if there's a gun,
that's Chekhov.
Chekhov. Yeah. See, again, you're just exposing my uncultured ass.
There's probably a Watch Mojo for 10 times Chekhov's gun. It became a thing. Yeah. No. But as I tweeted last night, I'll say it again. Still undisputed best movie of 2019, Avengers Endgame. Awesome
I don't
movie.
even know what that is.
It was the last movie in the Avengers with Thanos and stuff. Yeah, it's great.
Is Spider-Man in that or something?
Yeah, Spider-Man's in that. All your favorite characters. Captain
None of them are my
America,
favorites.
Thor, the Hulk, Ant-Man, the Wasp.
I don't know what that is. The Wasp?
Captain Marvel.
Wear, boat shoes.
The Wasp is
and
actually a
salmon red?
lady. Very sexist of you to assume it was a man.
Oh, I don't think I said he. I was just envisioning a sort of a New England Protestant with a cashmere cable knit sweater.
Yeah, it's George H.W.
neck.
Bush. That's the Wasp.
Yes. I don't even remember if we drove home. I'm sure we must have driven home on the Bushes episode how much of a non-Texas family that family actually is.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
It's so funny to me that I was thinking about that the other day. What was because I was thinking about the as I tend to do, the British Empire, and we were talking about Edward Colston, and I was like, these douches they're supposed to be the most buttoned up people and like the most gilded clean people. I was watching William F. Buckley with Noam Chomsky interview from the 60s or whatever, and I was like, but these are the slimiest, dirtiest motherfuckers around.
Yeah.
Doing death and money laundering on a scale just an unbelievable scale. Yeah. And it reminded me of it because I saw this one thing of this young black woman from Texas, I think, that was arrested for like half a ounce or something like that of weed. And meanwhile, there's like white people on Netflix that are doing like that have an entire series about like how to make edibles.
Right.
And it's like, what the fuck? Yeah. It's just that buttoned up. It means nothing.
Yeah, Buckley is a very good one for that too, because he's just like, he looks crooked. Like, and I mean that like sort of physically. Like he's got like a crooked smile, you know. Like
it's so weird.
He just looks like a liar, you know. Like
William F. Buckley.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
He just looks so sleazy and slimy, you know.
He's got
Sorry, I'm very distracted. I'm going to try to not be so distracted. Because actually, Siraj Hashmi just replied to me as well, but I'm not ignoring that for right now. Got a lot going on from different angles.
Please chime in when something good comes up.
No, you have my undivided attention.
Do you remember the
I can't hope to reply to him now. I'll never,
of course.
Yeah.
Do you remember the weird doctor sort of professor character from The Nightmare Before Christmas?
Yeah.
That's what William F. Buckley's smile looks like. Yeah. Just it goes from like literally from earlobe to earlobe, and it's just full of teeth.
Well, he looks like he has no bones. He just looks like this like strange, like gelatinous. Just like the way he sits in a chair.
How do you come up with
it's the way he kind of like leans into his chair, he like sinks into whatever chair he's sitting in. Yeah.
I was watching him with Noam Chomsky, and it was just like it's like the Ben Shapiro thing with like the Gish Gallop. Like he's not saying anything substantive. He's just throwing out and talking over you like these little things. Like he was like, oh well, I understand that the Soviets did a lot to push back Hitler, but of course, you, Mr. Chomsky, would love Papandreou of Greece, and Chomsky's like, what are you fucking talking about, dude? Like, why? He's just bringing up different things that the layman would listen to and be like, oh, this guy seems like he knows what he's talking about, but he's just talking shit, completely unsubstantive. It means nothing.
Yeah, pseudo-intellectual.
And I exactly. And I tweeted last night. I was like, I think having 1,000 mosquitoes flying at your ears and eyelids would be less annoying than listening to William F. Buckley talk. And I listened for maybe 7 or 8 minutes or something like that. I'm like, fucking hell, it's impossible.
You know, it's a good movie. Best of Enemies. Have you guys ever seen that?
I was about Vidal and
Gore Vidal.
Yeah, with Vidal and Buckley. Their debates during the 1968 Democratic and Republican conventions on ABC, I think. I mean, you can also just watch those debates. I think they're available on YouTube. But the film is good. It kind of hits all the highlights and it shows the mutual animosity that they had. And it's very satisfying because on the one hand, you look at that and you realize like that's like the birth of kind of like pundit television, right? As opposed to like news reporting. It's the birth of like, televised like commentators and people, like spin and ideological spin or whatever. And it's kind of fun because they're both such like erudite fucking waspy guys of their own, like elite.
Oh, they both have the most arrogant, like mid-Atlantic
transatlantic accent.
Yeah. Transatlantic or mid-Atlantic?
Transatlantic, yeah.
Transatlantic. Yeah. I always fuck that up.
But they're like, the way that they attack each other is just like, these like very kind of academic, elongated, composed, articulate insults against each other.
Yeah.
And there's sort of a pleasure in that. Yeah. But like, and then I mean, now the modern version of that is just like, you replying to Jeff Tiedrich being like, you suck suck shit.
The modern version of that is Trump leaning into the mic to just go, wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
Wrong.
Exactly.
Very nasty woman. Another from that era that I've been listening to lately, a speech that I thought was really interesting was the 1964 speech in Mother of God, Jesus.
Sorry.
There's no way you didn't put organs on your computer screen from that.
I probably could have muted that. I'm sorry. You know what I did? But what I did do is I leaned away from the mic I'm recording into, but I didn't think about the one that you guys hear.
Like Tay Zonde, I lean away from the mic to do a monstrous dad sneeze.
It's that time of year, man. I got terrible allergies.
What I was gonna say was a really interesting speech I'd listened to in the last week was 1964, I believe, Detroit, of Malcolm X giving his the ballot or the bullet speech, and just kind of setting up. It was kind of an interesting speech because I got the sense in the beginning he was spending a lot of time trying to bridge gaps between like the Christian black community and the Muslim black community, and just be like, we need to keep our religions at home, or we need to keep our religions, don't let it get in the way of black solidarity, is basically what he was saying in the beginning. And then just explaining, and I recommend anybody listening to this, especially if you're learning more about leftist ideas, or if you're trying to understand more a critique about white supremacy, I highly recommend listening to this because his explanation is such a deft takedown of white liberalism, and he uses that term explicitly. He talks explicitly about white liberals and about how Lyndon B. Johnson at the time, he was just and he had a really good line from it, and I don't want to misquote it, but it's something like, how do we say that the South lost when there's this amount of segregationists in office, many of whom were also Democrats, because that was also kind of like at the end of the kind of Dixiecrat thing, the Southern Democrats, a lot of them were segregationists. So yeah, a very, very interesting speech that I recommend listening to, because he also outlines the different revolutions that he wanted under black nationalism, which was like black ownership of businesses instead of, people that own businesses that don't live in your neighborhood, and they take their bag of money and go home with it and such. It's very, very interesting to listen to, but the critique of white liberalism holds up. And the reason, and at the time I was like, maybe I'll find like a podcast or something. I'll go take a walk, listen to this, talk about this stuff. And then I was like, why can't I just listen to the speech itself? Like, primary source, unfiltered. Yeah, very interesting. Chris, there was an update that happened that you needed to express?
No.
Okay, just making sure.
No. In fact, I was just about to check in, but no, I want to reply, but I can't yet. I don't want to.
You gotta let it incubate.
Well, no, Siraj is going on. He's going on the direct attack now, so I need to be fully. I need my head to be fully in the game. When I.
Wait, he's directly attacking you?
Yeah.
What?
It's what I wanted. It's what I've been asking for.
Oh, hang on. All right, hang on. Let me tap in. Well, I just want to see where this is going here.
Chris, I was just trying to look up your to find the thing, and I went through 2 of your past ats before I remembered what your modern one is.
That's right. I do miss dinar deals for vets.
Yeah, that was a good one.
That was the one that I only got to use for like a day before it got banned. That was so bummed because that was the best one I've ever had. That's still my Instagram handle.
Oh no. What's this Islamophobia? What the fuck is he talking about?
Oh, he's joking.
Oh, okay.
Obviously. He thinks he's really clever.
It was. I clicked on one of his things, and it was a cold reminder that Reagan Battalion has banned me, or has blocked me. I don't even remember what it was. It's not worth it. I don't even know what Reagan Battalion is. Is this just like an organization?
I think it's really funny that Peter Sweden, every single one of his new accounts, like the very first thing he does is get blocked by them again in like a really funny way.
Such a treasure. Such a treasure.
Yeah, they're like another kind of online social media right-wing stunty type group, with less resources and stuff than something like PragerU. It's like people try to do this like online activist stuff and inject a hardline right-wing voice into different things.
Yeah, it's weird. Like I was Shane, before you came on, I was telling Chris I was just sitting here watching some TikToks. And for like a month, I was like, the kids are all right. The kids are really, they're talking about, wealth inequality, and they're talking about police, and they're talking about a lot of stuff. I'm like, the kids are pretty good, and it was kind of encouraging. And then they must have adjusted my algorithm, or maybe I clicked on something or whatever, and I've started to get just like actual psychotically racist, conservative, white nationalist shit on my For You page, and it is shocking. And I was talking about this with a friend of the show who said, like, I don't know that any generation is like less racist than the next or whatever. Maybe it's just like different voices that are amplified or something. Like, it's not a generational thing. Like, ultimately, these people grow up.
Yeah.
And the thing, and I sent one of these to Chris, that I found to be fucking startling, is the amount of psycho-conservatives that are like, hey, look at this, the front of this car. It would be good to run over some protesters with. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, how is this not prosecutable? Like, what emboldens these people to go out and say something like that? It's insane to me that they're openly advocating and showing premeditation for murder, for vehicular murder on social media. And yet, what?
Meanwhile, Chris can get banned for merely being the manager at a Starbucks.
Unreal.
No, they make bumper stickers like that too, about the about like running over protesters.
And I think about that because, I think we were talking about this on maybe the last Patreon episode or something about, I remember thinking a year ago or so, seeing all these Blue Lives Matter stickers on cars. And I was like, if we're talking about an aesthetic of fascism, of rising or burgeoning neo-fascism, like, that's it. Like, if we had to, like, look at an emblem for or a symbol that people were using, like, that's it. It's the Blue Lives Matter sticker. And the fact that other people are just proselytizing the idea, like, this is the same fucking people, like, the driving, like, the use of vans and shit for murders that was done in, like, Germany and shit like that, like, a few years ago. They were like, oh, Islamic terrorism shit. Now they're attempting to do the exact same thing. Am I fucking crazy?
No, I mean, it's very revealing of, like, again, in the sort of fascistic worldview and stuff, all of the projections about your enemy, I mean, it's the same vis-a-vis like racism, and especially then, when you combine the two and you get this sort of like white supremacist kind of fascist authoritarian mindset, right? It's like you project onto your enemy all of the things you wish to do, right? So like the whole like kind of threat construction, of that is prevalent in like, white nationalist thought or whatever is like, there's a white genocide going on because the assumption is that like any enemy group, right, which in this sense is constructed via like a lens of like ethnicity or or race or whatever, like any other group it wants to destroy us. So in order to like defend ourselves, we have to like destroy them, right? Like there's no acceptance of this idea of like whatever base level multicultural values or just like whatever peaceful coexistence or any like the whole construction of the idea is that like these awful people want to do these barbaric things, so in order to stop them we have to do these barbaric things to them. And so in terms of like method then, right, you get like the hypocrisy, which is what you're pointing out, which is that this very same kind of tactics or whatever that they would decry being employed by their perceived enemies are the exact same things that they want to do. I mean, it's the same how as like during like war and stuff when you have the propaganda of competing states, like in the world wars or whatever, like every side would decry war crimes by the enemy side and make that a cornerstone of support for their cause, right? But while simultaneously doing war crimes of their own and supporting these as like good victorious things, when inflicted against an enemy population. I mean, it's deeply, deeply hypocritical, but in a weird way, again, if you look at it through that lens I was just talking about, it kind of makes a lot of sense, right? It's the sense of like if you dehumanize the other person and you say like there's no value to them whatsoever, then it makes sense to be like anything that they do is bad and anything I do is good, at like a baseline. And so it doesn't really matter then. And I mean that's the way that like for a long time there's on the right with the construction of like not just the fear mongering about like the sort of xenophobia or Islamophobia or anti-black or just that kind of general construction of what we think of as white supremacists. One of their other main targets and and one of the other big figures that play into their conspiracy is the idea of like, you know, the race traders or whatever, you know, like white people or liberals or leftists or whatever, and they're all part of some constructed plot, you know, together. And so in terms of like, you know, like vis-a-vis like at the Charlottesville protests when that guy killed Heather Hare, you know, it was the same idea. It was like we have to like destroy these people. And yeah, and it is kind of baffling to see that, like, you know, that happened a few years ago and that was like a major news story, and now not only are like vigilante people doing it, but like the fucking cops are doing it. Like the police are literally doing it, and in a great number of documented cases, you know, just within the last few weeks or whatever. So it is insane, but yeah,
fucking A.
Yeah, pretty bad. Not as bad as Uncut Gems, though.
Oh, come on.
I will for sure not ever get around to watching that movie now.
No, watch.
You don't need to. You don't need to. It's fine.
He's the one person telling you it's bad. You're gonna listen to him over everybody else?
No, dude. Here. Watch Bad Lieutenant, Port of Call, New Orleans by Werner Herzog from like 2011, 2012. It's the same kind of idea of a guy in a downward spiral, except stuff happens and the main actor is charismatic. If you want to watch an Adam Sandler movie, watch Jack and Jill, okay?
Your mic drop face.
Watch fucking Jack and Jill.
I'm going to watch Mr. Deeds again.
Mr. Deeds.
I don't know. You know, I just put together, because somebody put a GIF. Remember that movie Airheads?
Yeah, of course.
With Sandler, who's the guy with the eyes that are on the size of his head like a fish? Brendan Fraser and Steve Buscemi.
Yeah.
And then... But Steve Buscemi was also in Mr. Deeds, wasn't he?
Yeah, he's like friendly with Sandler, yeah.
He's in a lot of, he was in Big Daddy too. He's in a lot of Sandler movies.
Interesting. Yeah, good for him.
Or I guess he was in Billy Madison too, right? He was the guy that shot he's the guy that shot the teacher.
Yes,
whatever.
That's right. Oh wow. All right. Well, there you go. Still baffles my mind that Adam Sandler is worth nearly $500 million.
I would love to do an episode on Adam Sandler. Generally, because I've tracked him for a long time, and I think he's a relatively, like, you know, sort of, like, he's a very much like a scam artist, I think, in terms of no, I'm serious. I'm serious in terms of like all the movies that like Sony has put out over the last couple of years with him, you know, over the last like decade or so. Like they're just like stuffed to the brim with product placement. I think they're really like just like a big like kind of scam thing to like not have to really work very hard. I mean, the scripts are barely written and stuff, and just to, you know, pay off Sandler, and then he puts all his friends in his movies to make sure that his friends get work and they get money, and it's a big scam. And for unrelated reasons to anything that happened to me last night, I'm on an anti-Sandler crusade now. So maybe that could be our next episode.
Who is he scamming though?
The American people. What are you talking about?
He hasn't thought this through.
I have. He's scamming. He's scamming mommies and daddies everywhere who want to find a film they can take their kids to. You know, it's the same with like I mean, most of the fucking movie companies are big scams. I mean, they're all like giant profit machines. They're all based. They're not interested in like making like art or whatever. No. And Adam Sandler just happens to be the worst of them.
Abby Doobie.
It was so bad. I'm so mad about the film. It was so angering.
Rest in peace, Shane's time.
Yeah,
Can't
unreal.
get it back.
Unreal.
Speaking of which, we've run to the end of our hour.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, buddy.
Can you hear Rolo barking?
It's time to dive head first into responding to all my haters.
I'm really looking forward to this. Everybody we'll see you online in fucking 20 minutes. Yeah. It's the end of the episode. Go online, watch what happens.
Yeah, I'm sorry that all this sort of happened at once. And
listen, man, you can't delay greatness.
Can't put art on hold, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Put art on hold.
See, Chris actually does art. That's what separates him from Adam Sandler. Chris creates entertaining products for the American masses. He's a good guy.
I'll accept that. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
I also believe I'm better than Adam Sandler.
Definitely.
I'll take it.
Low bar. But you crossed it.
You heard it here, folks. I think let's play the Hanukkah song to
No.
No, definitely no. That song sucks.
The lunch lady song.
No song that he's had a hand in.
Sandler.
Why don't you play one of your fucking, you guys are always talking about these jazzy fucking tunes that you're listening to. Why don't you play one of those?
What do you think? Bluegrass or jazz, Chris?
I sincerely, I think we should do the lunch lady song just to drive Shane absolutely insane.
We'll see if there's a bluegrass version of it.
Oh my God.
You know goddamn well there's not. It's up to you to make it.
Oh fuck! My mandolin's not here though. All right, I'll see what I can do.
My mandolin's not
here. My life's falling apart. My mandolin's not here. I gotta restring my guitar.
Oh, I'm really in trouble now.
And it's on my guitar. I put it in such a fucking weird tuning because I was trying to play some Joni Mitchell tunes.
Wait, so Shane, have you not seen Blood Simple? Watch Blood Simple, dude.
I'd like to see Blood Simple. I do like the Coen Brothers.
If you want a really satisfying movie, watch that one.
I'll watch that one. I'll watch that one.
The character of the private investigator is just so good. Just classic Coen Brothers character.
All right, nice.
All right, folks.
All right, stay cool.
Stay cool.
Be well.
This is a song. This is a new song. It's through the eyes of one of the greatest people alive, I feel. The lunch lady. Woke up in the morning, put on my new plastic glove. Served some reheated Salisbury steak with a little slice of love. I got no clue what the chicken pot pie is made of. Just know everything's doing fine down here in Lunch Lady Land. Well, I wear this net on my head 'cause my red hair is falling out. I wear these brown orthopedic shoes 'cause I got a bad case of the gout. I know you want seconds on the corn dogs, but there's no reason to shout. Everybody gets enough food down here in Lunch Lady Land. Well, yesterday's meatloaf is today's sloppy Joe.